guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new dragging video. Guys, it's been a minute since I filmed a dragging video, but I had so many other videos I wanted to share with you. But without further ado, let's get started. Let's start off here at the Big H Boutique in Monte Carlo in Monaco. All the essays there were too stuck up to serve or even greet walk-in clients, especially tourists. I had to ask multiple essays to help with purchasing a pair of shoes to find the right size, yet no one helped. They kept emphasizing that everything there is apparently out of stock and not for sale. They were definitely glad to be serving a VIP or local client. The West Big H you can visit, don't bother going in. You won't get the same experience you'd get at another store. Definitely, I wouldn't be going into the Monte Carlo boutique just to buy shoes. Just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with buying tiny, small things. That's fine, but I think that you should also be realistic and set those expectations. I think if anything that these videos kind of highlight and show is set your expectations. I'm a very realistic shopper. Honestly, and I mean this honestly, if I'm spending more than like 5,000 euros, yes, I'm going to need you to offer me champagne, yes. Frankly, for even 4,000, 3,000 euros, I would like you to offer me some champagne. But if I'm just going in to buy shoes, I mean, how much are Orans right now in euros? I don't know how much Orans are in the normal leathers, but I believe the ostrich Orans are what, 1,100? I think lizard Orans are what, 1,700, 1,800 euros. The crocodile Orans are like 3,700. I guarantee you, if you walk in and you are like, I want to buy crocodile shoes, they will be running after you in there because those are not an easy sell. Most people are not. They're just buying the standard leather ones. And I've just mentioned the prices of the exotic ones because those are the ones that I like and that I'm interested in. At the end of the day, they don't care. Like a pair of shoes to Big H, it's nothing to them. Probably cost them basically nothing to make, and they sell them for thousands, or they sell them for hundreds of euros in the normal leathers, sell them for thousands in the exotic leathers. Again, not justifying it, but I'm just saying Monte Carlo, like, you know, there's so much wealth in Monaco, and then the boutique is in Monte Carlo itself. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get dragged if you're not spending a lot. Same location. I rarely leave bad reviews, but I felt disrespected. My friend and I visited Monaco, and we wanted to see how the store was different. After wandering around for a while, we didn't receive any help. We stood at the scarf counter. I assumed the SA lacked motivation because we weren't buying enough to earn commission. Ding, 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 ding! Jackpot! We have a winner today in the casino of luxury shopping. This cold attitude affected my mood, making me feel like the products were also inferior. I felt like turning away. Okay, don't panic. This was the worst shopping experience I've had. Since then, I've lost all interest in the brand. I don't know. I feel like some people take this stuff really seriously. Guys, I can't tell you how many times me and my husband have had crazy, wild experiences in luxury stores. Honestly, a really unpopular opinion I have about the Big H shopping community, and I'm gonna include myself, so I'm not trying to say like I'm better than other people or anything like that. But one of my unpopular opinions that I have about the Big H shopping community is that sometimes like I feel like there are some people who shop at this brand who have like a parasocial relationship with the brand. You see this again in the Hermes glyphics that I talked about. Show your passion for the brand. Show your passion and you love the brand beyond the bags. It's giving parasocial. It's giving Stockholm syndrome. Sometimes like the way people talk about this brand, it's like literally it's giving Stockholm syndrome. It's a shop that sells physical products that you can purchase that are very expensive. That is it. That is all. I don't think that if this happened to me, that wouldn't put me off the brand for life. I would just say, okay, maybe I didn't have a good experience here. But to be fair, and as we said in previous dragging reviews, on the one hand, it's a scarf. Again, most glamazons who are watching this channel are not going to expect champagne roses for buying a scarf at Big H. But at the same time, I do wonder, Big H, why are you producing scarves? If people go into the boutique to ask for scarves, they get dragged. Like, I don't understand why people are being dragged, but ask like for buying scarves. You have made a product that people are asking to buy. People shouldn't be dragged. If you don't want people to buy scarves, don't make scarves. The next one is the Van Cleef and Arpels boutique in Monte Carlo in Monaco. The staff is totally not interested in selling anything if you arrive before closing time. It's easier to say they have nothing left in the store, especially when the car with the husband of the SA has arrived. Oh God, I understood more languages. Oh, wow. So the husband of the essays arrived taking her home. Oh my God. Very poor service. I'm a client of VCA, but the Monte Carlo boutique is just terrible. They treat everyone like tourists, but they forget maybe people will go to other brands knowing how they treat their clients. I was made to feel uncomfortable. I was made to feel like I was shopping fast because the essay was in a hurry. Making clients feel uncomfortable will cost you one day. Probably no one reads these reviews because they're so bad, but no one does anything. FYI, I left VCA, went into another brand store, I spent my money there. Yeah, again, we've talked about this before, which is those like cultural misunderstandings and the importance of people making sure that basically you understand culture. So after many years of traveling to Europe to shop and buy things, what I learned is continental European luxury boutiques do not like it when you turn up before closing. They really, really get upset. They really, really get annoyed. We've talked about this before. France is not the only country. Germany also has really strong labor protections. Sometimes I wonder if this is also like something that would get the company in trouble if like an essay stays after a certain time that they haven't necessarily been contracted to do. So for example, let's say the shop closes at 7, you turn up at 6:50. The store manager might say, oh, it's okay to tell people we're closed because maybe there might be some contractual issues. I don't know. But the bottom line is in Europe, whether it's the European Union or Europe at large, European luxury stores do not like when you rock up there and turn up there, like when it's very close to closing time. It's just something that they really dislike. A lot of the reviews where this is mentioned, the person writing the review will be from the States, where maybe in the States it's normal to extend the working hours. But in Europe, it is not normal to extend working hours unless it's for like a top VIP. And even then, it will be planned ahead of time. I think there were some clips on some Instagram pages of Rihanna in Paris, and she was going to the Dual Avenue Montaigne boutique, but it was at like 2 a.m. in the morning. But that was obviously pre-arranged. It's not like she turned up there at 2 a.m. and expected people to just be there. No, she'd obviously arranged it, like her team and the VIP team. The next one is the same location, the Van Cleef and Arpels boutique in Monte Carlo, in Monaco. A month ago, I went to the boutique here in Monaco with my husband and my dog. At the door, after a few minutes of waiting, a young man, no one speaks Italian, but that's not a problem, with a tablet in my hand, asked me what I came to look for and that there are people in the boutique, so we couldn't enter. No mention of the dog. I tell him I wanted to buy something. I tell him what I wanted to buy, I beg your pardon. And I am told it is sold out. It will be restocked, and they will call me. Of course, no one called me. After almost a month, I called and arranged an appointment for Saturday. Upon arrival, I was sent away after minutes of waiting at the door, despite having an appointment, because I had my dog with me, and alternatively, I was invited to tie the dog at the pylon in the square. I won't go back. Okay, so I really wanted to talk about this, and guys, honestly, when it comes to dragging videos, I'm always going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you real. I'm not going to do the, playing both sides and being a Pegasus unicorn. There are cultural factors here at play. So definitely in Europe, it is normal. For example, obviously Monaco is a sovereign state and Monaco is a sovereign country. But like in France, for example, it's normal to like go to a restaurant, and many restaurants do allow like you to come in with a dog, like your pet. Right? Now, before we discuss this particular portion of this dragging review, let's be very clear what we're not talking about. We are not talking about guide dogs. We are not talking about that. And obviously, if a customer is blind or partially sighted, absolutely, they will be welcome to luxury boutiques with a guide dog, and they should be welcome to luxury boutiques with a guide dog. Let's be very clear. We are not discussing guide dogs. I just want to be clear before we start discussing what happened to this client. That literally doesn't even, it's not even necessary for me to mention it, but because the internet is a sensitive place, someone's going to be like, what about guide dogs? What about guide dogs? We are absolutely not talking about guide dogs. Let's just be very clear. We're talking about people who, are fully sighted, and someone wants to bring their pet dog to the boutique. Okay, are we clear? Because you know how the internet is. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I'm sorry in my voice. I don't see what the issue is. Okay. I don't see the need for why you'd need to bring your pet dog to a luxury store. Me personally, I understand if you're going for a walk and you're like, oh, I'm going for a walk with my dog. I want to go get some lunch. And remember, you heard me there. I said pet dog. I didn't say guide dog. There's absolutely nothing wrong with guide dogs being there. And I just want to be super, super clear on that because I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. A guide dog being in a luxury store, that should be the standard and that should be normalized because absolutely blind people absolutely deserve and should have the full right to take their dogs with them anywhere and everywhere they should want to go. But I think if you're fully sighted and your dog is not necessarily there to help you, for example, see, because that's the whole point of guide dogs is they help blind people or partially sighted people move around and understand space. If your dog is just like your pet dog, I don't really see the need of why your pet dog would need to be in a luxury boutique. Please don't even think for a second to compare a dog and a human child because that's obviously not the same things. I know this review is gonna get people triggered. I know that my point of view is not popular. Now, granted, my point of view is like highlighted by my culture. Almost in all African countries, you wouldn't be able to bring your pet dog into a shop or a store. And looking back, I remember once we had an experience with a guide dog. There was a client who called us and she said her and her husband were both blind and they had 2 guide dogs, but she wanted to come to our store. I was like, absolutely, you're very welcome. We were super excited to meet her and we accommodated them and we also accommodated their guide dogs. At first they were like, oh, we can put them outside. I was like, no, absolutely not. They're guide dogs. And I wanted her and her husband to feel welcome and to be included. Absolutely. But I feel like a pet dog at a luxury store, whatever the breed, I think I've seen some cases where people have tried to bring pet cats. I don't know about that, guys. To me, that just feels a little bit, I don't know. To me, it feels a little bit excessive. I think it's a bit over the top. I think it's a bit much to expect them to cater to your pet animal that you don't need the dog to see, you don't need the cat to see or anything like that. You're there with your dog and you expect them to cater to your dog because you have brought your dog there. Just no, I'm sorry, I don't see what VCA have done. VCA told her so they told her like it's sold out, can you come back? She makes an appointment. Okay, fine. Now here she does make an appointment. Now this is where VCA got it wrong. When she made the appointment, they should have put a note to themselves saying she had a dog, a pet dog. If they didn't want the dog there, they should have called her to say they're more than happy to welcome her, but she can't bring her dog. They shouldn't have her waste her time and bring her animal and then be like, you can tie your dog outside. Yeah, most people are not going to be okay with that. What if someone comes and steals the dog? That happens. But still, again, like I said, even though in many European countries, it's very common for people to take dogs to restaurants and cafes and things like that. Not every single restaurant or cafe allows you to bring animals. And to be fair, there are brands that are very like dog friendly. So Big H is known for like allowing people, like if your dog is like really well behaved and doesn't soil themselves, you can bring your dog there. Same thing with Louis Vuitton. If your dog is well behaved and doesn't soil themselves, you can bring them in the store. But that's just because Louis Vuitton and Big H allow it does not mean that other brands have to allow it. And even in a city like Paris, which is very dog friendly, all the times I've been to luxury stores, I have seen a dog once, and that was at Louis Vuitton Champs. And even then, the lady was holding the dog as well. Honestly, to me, I don't feel like Van Cleef and Arpels have any need to accommodate someone who's bringing a pet dog that isn't there to help that person live. A guide dog is an incredible creature that helps someone who is not sighted or is partially sighted live, okay, and kind of get around for the day and so on and so forth. Whereas your pet dog is just your pet dog. They make you happy, fair enough, but and I know that you guys will be mad at me. I know I'm going to be shouted at in the comments, but I'm sorry. I don't think VCA have to accommodate that. I think in future, if you have a pet dog and you want to take them to like a luxury store for an appointment, you need to specify that. I've been thinking about my trip and like how I'm going to deal with being with Sinai, being that he's really young. And right now he's like has all these tantrums and stuff like that. I would definitely, if I was making an appointment, like, you know, when you're making the appointment to request one, at whatever brand, if there was a space for me to say, do you have any other comments? I'd be like, I'm coming with a very small infant, because I'm pretty sure if I say I'm coming with an infant, they're going to accommodate us in a private room. I'm willing to bet money at any brand, they'll probably accommodate you. You know what I mean? Because they're like, okay, you're coming with a small child, they want you to be comfortable and stuff like that. I just, you know, the only thing that I feel bad is that they let her come on Saturday and then they're like, okay, tie the dog outside. No, what they should have said is, you know, happy to see you for the appointment, but you can't bring the dog. Okay. So you could just you could have left him at home for a bit and then come back and get him after the appointment. Tell me what you think. And before anyone has a moan, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm like a fluffy animal person. I'm not a massive like animal person. I like apex predators. Like I love watching documentaries about like crocodiles, lions, wolves. I watched a documentary about wolves the other day on Animal Planet, and I was like, I just learned today that dogs are basically domesticated wolves. Okay, like dogs are literally connected to wolves. That's wild. But I'm not like an animal person, so I'm not like, oh, dogs are so cute or whatever. You know, I have a guard dog. He's called Cairo, named after the city in Egypt. Cairo would not be able to go into a shop or a restaurant because Cairo is not like domesticated like that. He's a guard dog, honey. Like you come up at the crib, you're going to meet Big Cairo and you're going to get dragged. You know, but that's his job, right? So we wouldn't take him to like a restaurant or a store because there's just no way. And even Lovelace, my cat, who is a great cat, I don't know. I think everyone should just make the call for themselves. But I personally wouldn't go to a boutique with a pet dog or a pet cat. But there are some brands that are very welcoming. Like I said, Big H and Louis Vuitton are particularly welcoming. You let me know. I hope everyone who loves animals isn't going to shout at me. Don't shout at me or then I won't share my opinions. Because you guys always say you want people to share their opinions and not be afraid. And then when people share their opinions, they get shouted at. So I've just told you my honest opinions without trying to be like too diplomatic. Next one is VCA New Bond Street in London. I recently visited the Van Cleef & Arpels store on Bond Street and I was somewhat disappointed with the service. This affected my overall experience of purchasing my first VCA piece I was super excited about. I may not have been buying the most expensive item, but I would still expect to be treated with respect for the staff to put in some effort. I did not feel welcome, so overall it was an uncomfortable experience. I did purchase the piece I had waited for some years, but I was looking forward to the experience. I think this is a good example of like what happens sometimes when there are like miscommunications, right? And I think sometimes like also not on the side of the client, the customer here isn't wrong. But I think sometimes like SAs need to understand that people are super excited to come to the boutique and some people are making their first purchase or some people are making a purchase that's really emotional and very sentimental to them. It wouldn't hurt for you to try and be excited about it. After a while, they're going to feel really disillusioned because they're meeting people who are spending hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, euros at these boutiques, but it wouldn't hurt them to be excited and vibrant about it. Do you know what I mean? Because you are really affecting someone's experience. The next one is the same location, VCA on Bond Street in London. I went to VCA after a pleasant shopping experience at Chanel. The doorman looked me up and down and told me they're closed for the day. I stood in shock, very confused. As he closed the door, I noticed there were people inside seated. I could see people walking up the stairs. I knocked again and asked how come they're closed if there are people inside. I was told the manager told him they're closed for the rest of the day. Surprising how what is said changes from closed today to closed for the rest of the day. I asked when will they be open, and he said tomorrow. I can't help but feel I didn't look, quote, rich enough. Ironic really, as if I'd walked in with my VCA necklace, would the shop have been magically open for me? Honestly, it probably would have been open for you. They really shouldn't judge people by their external appearance. It's not like I rocked up in a hoodie or shorts either. Yeah, you know. This isn't the first time the New Bond Street like jewelry boutiques have been dragged as well for like kind of judging and critiquing people. But we've talked about this, before. Presentation does matter at luxury stores. No one's saying you need to wear a ball gown. No one's saying you need to wear, a tuxedo. But definitely I think you need to turn up there and be a little bit more like, you need to look cleaned up and you need to look, I think looking effortlessly groomed is probably a vibe that one would go for. Again, it's not right. And if she was wearing a VCA necklace, they probably wouldn't have said it's closed for the rest of the day. The next one is VCA Paris at the Vendome flagship. This is the first ever Van Cleef boutique in the world as well. I went to the store to buy an engagement ring. Unfortunately, the SA was very unpleasant, support experience. I don't understand why she didn't offer us to try on jewelry. She showed us a catalog from her phone. Given the customer service, I left and I'll never return. Again, why not just let people try things on, particularly with engagement rings? Yes, there are going to be people trying on engagement rings that they're not going to buy. But yes, there'll be someone who's going to walk in and they're going to be like, I want to buy an engagement ring, and they're going to buy it. Sometimes I feel like when they do this because they think you're not going to buy anything. You need to allow people to buy things. The people in this story are not wrong. The next one is the Bouquet Boutique in Geneva in Switzerland. I went to the store. A customer said she waited an hour when an SA finally came to her and said, we don't have that bag, and left. Me and my friend wanted to inquire about the Evelyn PM. I was ready to buy, but we stayed 10 minutes, didn't get help, and left. I bought a bag of Celine, my friend at Prada. Doesn't matter if you work at Big H, your job is to assist on selling. Big H SAs, especially in Switzerland, do not care. Switzerland has a lot of Big H boutiques. There are a lot of Louis Vuitton boutiques. Obviously, there is a lot of concentrated wealth in Switzerland. If there is a country where the SAs like don't care that you're trying to buy an Evelyn PM, like they literally couldn't care less, it's probably going to be this country. There's just too much money for them to care. And I know that's like a really harsh, cold thing to say, but literally selling an Evelyn PM to like the Zurich or Geneva boutiques, or the I think the Lugano boutique is still there. All of those stores, in Switzerland, they literally don't care. It's nothing to them. The final one is from the Geneva boutique as well for Big H. I was VIP enough to buy several bags a year and to be invited to the Bal des Objets. That I think the Bal des Objets, I think, is like a VIP event that's done in Europe for Big H VIPs in Europe. My last visit was summed up by a huge wait and the discovery of the arrogance of their new employee hired 2 months ago. Finally, I'm going to the Megev and Turin boutiques to avoid having to face this service unworthy of such a house. You should review your recruitment. I wanted to mention this final one because there is this trend I've noticed, like people who are long-standing customers, like this person they have a long history, they've been invited to all of these VIP events, and then they go back to the boutique, then they start getting dragged. That does happen at Big H, especially if you start decreasing your spending as a long-term client, because you do hear about this all the time, like people who are like long-term clients begin to decrease spending, they're decreasing spending, and as they decrease spending, then they begin to notice that they're just not treated the same. I'd be willing to bet that in this example, this person probably started to decrease their spending, and then they were noticing that they just weren't a priority in the store. I mean, I think it's completely plausible at Big H and at any of the luxury brands that even if you have a long history there, they really care about active shoppers and people who are shopping today. So I wouldn't be surprised that there is some coldness if you're decreasing your spending, but you expect your VIP status not to change. Not saying that person necessarily thought that, but just putting it out there. Okay. Tell me what you think about today's selection of dragging videos. Before I go, I want to quickly talk about the Jennifer Lopez Chanel drama. So if you don't know, you can just Google the video. I'm not going to insert it here because I think I'll get copyrighted. So JLo was with her entourage and security detail. I think she was in a town in Turkey, and she wanted to go into a Chanel boutique, and she was stopped from entering the store and was told that the store was at capacity and that she couldn't enter. She smiled, waved, left. And then everyone kind of melted down all over social media, saying Big C is so rude, saying that Chanel is really rude, blocking people. But actually, when you watch the video, you see that she actually has a group of bodyguards with her, at least 3 or 4 bodyguards and her entourage, and she's trying to enter the store, and then she's told that it's full, then she leaves. She looks really pretty, by the way, and then she was walking away. She ends up going to other boutiques. She went to Celine and she went to another store and then called it a day. I have to say, I think Jennifer Lopez handled this really well. I posted this on my Instagram, and one of the Glamazons, one of you was saying how celebrities are kind of their mood has changed, with all this stuff going on with Diddy. A lot of celebrities connected to Diddy are keeping a low profile and they're keeping it cool. They're smiling for the fans and everything. Yeah. you know, she handled it well. She handled it well. She didn't make a scene. She just said okay, and off she went. And then apparently afterwards, Chanel employees did approach her and her entourage, and they did welcome her back. Like, hey, you know, if you'd like to come back, you know, we'd love to have you. She declined and kept it moving. I have to say, whatever your thoughts are on Chanel, whatever your thoughts are on Big C, she handled this exactly the way every single one of us Glamazons would want. Okay, imagine you were in that boutique, at the Chanel boutique in Turkey, and imagine, okay, if the store manager tells you to leave because Jennifer Lopez is waiting outside and you are a paying client. Let me tell you, there will be hell to pay. And I would be like, you will be hearing from Big Paris very soon. I'm not being kicked out because a celebrity wants to buy something. I don't care how much money the celebrity has. I'm not being kicked out because a celebrity wants to buy something. So I think that they handled this really well. 20 years ago, they probably would have asked people who were browsing to leave, which is also unacceptable. But we really are seeing the end of celebrity. We're really in this kind of post-celebrity world. Even luxury brands are not that moved anymore. They're not going to ask people to leave. I think, like, during my hiatus, I remember I was just like in some Facebook groups, and I think someone had said that they'd seen Jennifer Lopez or something like that. I don't know, at Faubourg, Big H Faubourg, and she was milling around with like the VIP team, but there were still clients walking around, and it wasn't like, oh, Jennifer Lopez there, you're not allowed to touch her. She's in a store with other customers. There are other human beings there. They're not going to rearrange their lives for you. And like I said, credit to her that she didn't ask for anyone to be told to leave. She was just like, oh, okay, I can't enter. Cool, whatever. And off she went to Celine, and she kept it moving. So everyone was kind of like, you know, I think, I don't know, I had left a comment on someone's TikTok, like, I think we live in a strange world of this like celebrity worship, because some people were like, they should have allowed her entry. I'm like, why should they have allowed her entry? Is it because she's a famous person and you think famous people matter more than other people? Because money's money. You can have hundreds of millions of dollars and no one needs to know who you are. Just because someone's famous, it does not mean that they have more money than you. Obviously, she's super wealthy and super successful and has, you know, tons of money. But I'm just saying, like, just because someone's famous doesn't mean that they have more right to be somewhere than the rest of us. Because at the end of the day, everyone's money is the same in a luxury boutique. Okay, that classic flat in wherever in France, it's still 9,000 euros for her, 10,000 euros for her. The same way it would be 10,000 euros for me. So when I like left my comment on TikTok, I was like, I can't believe the way people worship celebrities, that they think that other paying clients should be asked to leave to accommodate a celebrity. Let me stop you right there. If I'm there spending my good money, I'm not leaving. Okay. So the manager handled it well. They went back to her. They offered her to come back. She declined. Everyone kept it moving, and everyone kind of moved on. So I didn't get why everyone was kind of losing it on TikTok and YouTube. People were melting down over this. I actually thought it was really good, and I think that it shows that Chanel is really serious about their clients. And again, say what you want about Big C, but at least Big C didn't kick clients out to like help one celebrity. And furthermore, because she's really famous, she knows that she can call ahead and have them close the boutique for her before opening time if she really wanted to shop in there. And she knows that she could have them like come after hours. Someone had left a comment, which I agree with, which is that she likes to shop where she is seen. She likes being recognized. And as much as she can pretend she doesn't like the paparazzi, she likes that she's noticed and recognized. That is why she's shopping in public, because she doesn't have a problem with the attention. If she had a problem with the attention, she's really famous. Like in Europe, in North America, in Latin America, people are going to recognize who she is. So if she goes to a luxury boutique, people are going to stand, people are going to recognize, you know, who she is. There's no question about it. You know what I mean? Again, Big C, you made the right decision, and I'm with you on that one. Tell me what you think about that one as well. Okay, guys, that wraps it up for today's dragging video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Sign up to the newsletter. It was my son's baptism last week, and I was organizing that, so I didn't send the newsletter, but I'll be sending it. I think I'll send it tomorrow because today's Monday. I wanted to get a video up for you guys, so I didn't post anything on the weekend. I didn't know organizing children's events, like, first of all, costs tons of money. Okay, and then also it's like actually really stressful on the parents. He was fine, But then he began to get really tired and was began having tantrums, and I was like, okay, we have to wrap up the event. Anyway, I really hope you liked today's video. God bless you all, and I'll see you very soon in my next video.